You know what a yoke is? No yoke. Right? It isn't something in an egg. A yoke is a piece of equipment that enables oxen or horses or mules or goats, that's about the limit of it, to work together. It unites them in a common task. And when he says, take my yoke upon you, he's saying, get involved in my work with me. That's what it means. And it's a whole life process of doing and saying what he does. So if you want to minister with Jesus, you do what he did in the manner he did it. You say what he said in the way that he said it. And that's why things like really knowing the scriptures are so important. We need to have reworked that teaching that we got from the world so that it no longer makes any sense and the teaching that Jesus gives makes sense. The whole life learning, it isn't just for church, it's everywhere you are. That's discipleship to Jesus. You're bringing your whole life now into the flow of what God is doing. So, just think about what you spend your time doing every day. What did you do today? What you're going to do tomorrow? Well, you do that in the yoke. You do it in the yoke. As you do it, you look to him and you ask and invoke and expect that he will act with you. And that's how you know his presence in your life. Now, if you say, well, I'll just pull it myself. I'll pull the load myself. That's like I used to train horses, and a young horse that's not been trained. Well, when you yoke them to a horse, what you do is you yoke them to a horse that's trained. And when you do that, that new horse will just take off and pull the whole load, and the other old guy will just stand there and say, oh, well, isn't that nice? And then the horse will decide to slack off, and the wagon or whatever it is back of them will bump their behinds and skin their legs, and so after a while they figure out that's not too nice either. And so pretty soon they say, well, I'll just walk by, I'll walk evenly with this other horse. They got the message. And that's exactly what Jesus is talking about. He lived in a culture, of course, where people would understand that. And when we take the yoke, now then what happens is we begin to rest. We stop fighting it. We learn to rest. We rest in the strength that comes from God, from Christ that we're walking with. And then we begin to be able to do everything that we do in rest and confidence in him. And that seeps into the deepest part of our being. And so we can actually, as Colossians 3:17 says, do everything we do and say in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, giving thanks to God and the Father through him. Now see, that's the secret. Learning to do that. And having all of the dimensions of your being. I can't skip this last point here. It means to abandon outcomes. To abandon outcomes. To leave those to God. You do your part, but you do not trust your part even. You do it, and you trust God. And that's what it means, as 1 Peter 5 talks about, how God gives grace to the humble and resists the proud. And sometimes you can almost feel the resistance of God blowing in your face, and you need to get back in another position. You say, well, I'm not in charge of this. I humble myself under the mighty hand of God, that in due season he may exalt you. That's the ultimate outcome, is that you would be exalted by God, not by you. See? Casting all your care upon him because he cares for you. So that's the peace. Soul rest comes through apprenticeship of Jesus, natural consequence of faith in Jesus, in the yoke. Once we learn that, then we begin to have rest. And our soul has rest. You see, that seeking the kingdom means just to do that.